Got on my leather jacket Thriller. The show ain't nothing iller. Man, I'm a lady killer. If I want her, I'm a stealer. I promise I can make her fly away like caterpillars. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Expert. Today we have our guest Colleen Mahoney with us. We're going to be talking about Facebook censorship, and Colleen has run many Facebook groups and has been the victim of Facebook's, I'm going to just straight up say bias censorship. I do believe it's bias. I normally don't subscribe to that sort of conspiracy theory talk, but the reality is I've just seen too much evidence that points to political leaning in their censoring. And we're going to talk about the Hunter Biden story. We're going to talk about New York Times article where Joe Biden called black men predators and how that got edited. We're going to talk about Facebook groups that get moderated, which are private. I've been working in social media and digital management for 25 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Unfortunately, Letitia won't be able to make the show today, but we're gonna, please, put your questions down below. I'm not as good of a host as Letitia. I'm more of a sidekick, but I think me and Colleen are going to make it work today. Colleen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Colleen Mahoney. I'm a CPA. I'm from Staten Island. And, for most of my life, honestly, I was a registered Democrat until 2015 when Trump was running. And I wanted to support him because he was not a career politician. And I think that we should have more of a turnover in our government. And people were never meant to be in government for 47 years, for example.
Amen.
Okay, so I don't know how you want to do this. You want to start with?
Yeah, let's talk about some of your of the posts that got censored, and what the topics were about in particular.
Okay, well, when I first noticed it actually is when it was about in March, and there was a beautiful Trump campaign ad. Now this isn't even any kinds of news article or anything. It was just a beautiful campaign ad where he, beautiful picturesque video, and you could hear his voice cracking actually when he's speaking during it. And I posted it several times and I wasn't getting any reactions on it. And now I know the majority of my friends are Trump supporters. That's just the way it is. They are. So I would definitely get a reaction on something like that. So I started to question people. Are you seeing my posts? Are you seeing these things? And they were saying no, not unless they went directly to my page could they see it. So that's when I started to be suspicious that something was up. And, and then of course you post memes and some of it doesn't have factual information and they do the fact checking thing, and that used to bother me in the beginning, but now I kind of feel like when I have that up on my page, anything that's not fact check is confirmation that it's true. So I kind of feel like it could work in my favor. And but then the first real legit thing. I mean, I got sanctioned and warnings and put in Facebook jail for inappropriate posts. Not really anything too bad, but things okay. I get it. Might go against your community standards because somebody could be offended. We live in a world of political correctness. But then when hydroxychloroquine started there was the big controversy because President Trump, advocated and saying that it was effective in some cases, and it is effective in some cases. And just like any medication, different people respond differently. So this was a New York Post article, and I believe it was a city council member who swore that hydroxychloroquine saved his life. I'm not sure if that's the exact article, but it was something to that effect. That was one of the articles. And I got 7 days in Facebook jail just for sharing a New York Post article. I didn't, say Colleen Mahoney says hydroxychloroquine works. I'm a CPA and I'm advocating for it. I'm not a medical doctor. but this was a reputable source, a real legit media outlet that I just shared their post. And I had 7 days. And this wasn't regular Facebook jail. I was in solitary confinement Facebook jail where I couldn't even use Messenger. So I had no access to anybody on my friends list whatsoever. And this was just the beginning. And, I got a couple jail things a couple of times. And
you touched on something before. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to pick up where you left off, but you touched on something that I want to educate our audience on, and it's called shadow banning. Before you actually got banned, you said you were making, and this, I'm experiencing this now as well. So any political posts that I make, regardless of affiliation, because I have two personas on Facebook just to test this theory. One is a right-wing Republican. The other persona is a hardcore Democrat. Whenever I make posts about Trump in particular, and it's almost regardless, Trump or Nicole Maliotakis, who's running for Congress, who's one of my clients, whenever I make comments about Trump or her in particular, I notice I get no likes, no shares, and I'm thinking, well, maybe, people aren't interested. But then I go to my second persona and I post something positive about Joe Biden, and it goes wild. Now, I have no evidence outside of this test. I have over 3,500 people on my Facebook account, and when I post a picture from my car show or with my sister, I get more likes than I can process. So this is called shadow banning. They actually have an algorithm that is designed, and this has been proven by Project Veritas, an algorithm that's been proven with witness from secret footage taken within Facebook, and it's not disputed. It's real video footage of Facebook moderators explaining the shadow ban process. So they actually filter down that content. And to me, that's one of the scariest things that I could ever imagine. It's scarier than getting outright banned, which I interrupted you on. But it's far scarier to me is that they are deciding what we see, which is going to control what we think. I don't care if you're posting, Colleen, the craziest thing on earth. It's your free speech right to post that. It shouldn't be up to a private corporation to, and because they're so big now, it's an issue. This isn't, this is a Republican saying private corporations shouldn't be allowed to do something, right? You don't hear that often, but it's a First Amendment frightening tactic that is going on all social media platforms. So again, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you can continue about your hard bans, which are another way that Facebook will just outright ban you for usually it was intended to be about sexually explicit items. That's what Section 230, which we'll talk about a little later, that protects these social media companies, which treats them, you could either be a publisher or you could be a platform. It seems to me now that they're enjoying being a publisher with the protections of a platform. And I'll go into more detail later. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I could talk about this all day. I am scared to death of this censorship level that we're seeing. And I'm more scared of the shadow ban because what it does is it makes you think you don't have anything valid to say. You've experienced it on a few other places too, Colleen. Like you're a moderator of a bunch of groups. But before we carry on to that, John Tobacco, thanks for tuning in, buddy. I watch you every day and I appreciate you. And we have Kim Salvo that says, I find Facebook will stop me from copying and pasting my comment on multiple Facebook pages after about the 15th page. So then I edit the words and I can keep going. That's actually not the censorship side of Facebook. That's an automated algorithm to prevent robots from attacking people. So don't be too worried about that, Kim. That's a robot protection. I know because I run actual robots and they've got so good at shutting them down. So I'm not going to attack Facebook where they don't need to be. That's just preventing them from thinking you're a robot. So Colin, tell me about the groups that you've moderated. You'd mentioned a large one. and a
No, I
million
didn't
people.
moderate on the groups. That I didn't moderate on the groups. I was just a member of these groups that got shut down. But going back to what the person was just talking about, where you said it was about the bots. Also, if we send things in private messages now, you used to be able to just go down the list and hit send, 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 send. Now it seems to block us, and you're only allowed to send 5 inside Messenger, even. But no, I've been members of groups that got shut down, like Candace Owens. I've been moderating on a couple groups. They did not get shut down, but they have heavily been warned, and everything has to be monitored. So then we're ultimately being the censors, and you don't want to be that, because you're in a group that says this is a free group, but it's a private group. We could say what we want, but yet they're still coming inside the private groups and trying to block us. And what you were saying about posting your Corvette, once I realized they weren't showing my Trump video, I started to test it, and I'd pop in a picture of my dog, and it was getting 200, 300 likes, and it's right after the video, and I'll put the video right before it and right after it. Nothing, no reaction, and it's a beautiful video. Even when I pop the video into groups with 500,000 members, 2 or 3 people will like it, and they're Trump groups. The people would like it. So they're doing, I guess, that shadow thing you were talking about, even with inside a group. That and the worst part is they're not telling me. Like, a lot of times they'll give you a warning. We're not gonna post this because it goes against community standards, or we're gonna put a little warning on it saying that it's could be misleading. They fact check everything with crazy stuff. But with this shadow thing, you believe that it's out there. You have no way of knowing that they're inhibiting it. So that's bothersome until, you have to figure it out on your own and then start asking your friends. But the whole censorship with this whole New York Post thing last week with the Hunter Biden, that made me realize, we know that 90% of the media is owned by like 6 different groups or something to that effect. And we know they're very left biased. But to the extent that they can censor something major like this, that so many people will just discount it right out of hand, is very scary, especially if Trump loses. What becomes of us? I was literally in tears the other day, because how do we live with such suppression of information? And they keep going back to, that's what communist countries do. That's what totalitarian governments are all about. And everyone on the left wants to say how we're losing our democracy because of Trump, and that it's so insane to hear that, and how he's the dictator and we're trying to get rid of the Constitution and create a totalitarian state, when it's just the complete opposite. With the gaslighting that they do is crazy.
I want to comment on that Post article, but I also want to welcome Leticia Romero back to the show. Glad you made it. We'll talk. I hope everything went well for you today. We'll talk about that. Don't worry, Josephine or Mom, Leticia's here.
She was calling me.
Everything's gonna be okay. But I want to talk about this New York Post article. Colleen touched upon the censorship. The New York Post is still banned on Twitter today. So here's what's scary about that. There are a lot of what I'll call fringe media outlets out there, right? Some of them are designed specifically to promote one party or the other, right? They're media outlets who are put up to be propaganda machines. I don't have to name them. Everyone has seen them. These propaganda machines are one thing, right? These aren't major media outlets. This was the New York Post with cited evidence and cases. A major, the 4th largest newspaper in the United States of America. They had plenty of content in their article, and the reason why they said they banned this article was because it revealed private information in the email. Here's where I'm going to tell them to go stick it, because Trump's tax returns were not released by the IRS or Trump, but they were all over your so-called platforms, right? So if you're going to be, You have to be fair and balanced if you're going to run a company like Twitter and Facebook. To say one thing for one person and use that as the reason, but allow and not put fact checks on the Donald Trump tax returns, because you don't know. I can guarantee you one thing: if someone has his tax returns, it was obtained illegally. And you're citing that this information was obtained illegally and that it reveals personal information as the reason for chopping down this New York Post article about Hunter Biden, who is obviously the most corrupt. I'm sorry, there's too much evidence pointing at the corruption of the Bidens. Too much. Now, Trump's had plenty pointed at him about corruption. All of it was second party information, right? I heard somebody say that was enough for them. But this Post article, the media should be curious. They should be asking questions. They're not. They're completely shutting it down. And I believe it's a control issue, one, and it's a pure vitriol for Donald Trump, which makes me more Trumpian than ever before, because he's the guy who will put an end to this. He's the guy that will end Section 230. Section 230 protects platforms from being sued for the comments made on their platforms. So that was done in 1996. I think that was the Clinton administration. At the time, it was needed because the internet was new, and there was a few lawsuits that were taking place that would have endangered this open communication that the internet allowed. The government wanted to allow that, so Section 230 was put in place, and anybody can correct me if I'm getting some of these details wrong. But Section 230 was put to protect the platforms, again, from being sued for what the commenters said. Now, if you're going to act like a publisher and not just edit out what 230 was intended for, pornography and violent speech and hate speech, if you're going to start droning it down into every minutia outside of those three items, you are now a publisher, and you should be liable to be sued. Because let me tell you, and I'm sorry, I'm going to talk a lot on this one because I'm hot.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're the expert.
So what happens is when you first post something on social media that's breaking news, that's the moment where it explodes, right? And what Twitter did to the post was they chopped that moment away and said, we're looking into it. We're not sure about the facts on this article. But just the mere fact that they downgraded the content immediately stops millions and millions and millions of people from seeing it. Whereas if today they said, oh, we're sorry, we were wrong, and they turn it back on, the virality of it is gone. So whether you agree with the New York Post article or not, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you need to be scared to death that a private corporation with as much power as these social media companies have are controlling this. So I don't know what you guys think about that. I know I had a lot to say there, but your mom said it correct. Best, when did Facebook become judge and jury? And in a little bit, I'm going to talk to you about the new Facebook moderator team, which I have an article to read. But, so Section 230 is something we all need to know about. Colleen, spread the word on Section 230. And it needs to be taken away from social media if they're going to edit my content. That's not dangerous speech. Sorry, it's not dangerous speech. Maybe COVID issues, I could understand that. Okay, maybe there's a reach for some COVID post. But I'm sorry. Not on my opinion. I want to do my own research. I don't need a daddy or mommy to do that research for me.
Well, Facebook is just an outlier of what's happening in our society, I think. I mean, a government wants us to walk in lockstep. And, it seems to me that they have managed, especially in this election year, to get all of the media outlets to walk in lockstep with them. There are very few out there that are independent thinkers. And, people say that Fox News and Breitbart are, maybe too right wing or too right leaning. But, I noticed that Fox, well, at least Fox News, I don't know about Breitbart so much, but they have, they have opinions that are contradictory to the host. I mean, they have a good, well-rounded group of people on their show to shoot things down. I often go between CNN and Fox, and I could tell you straight up that I think that we see more of a more rounded group of people on Fox than on CNN. But that being said, just with what they're doing with the Hunter Biden stuff and the fact that the New York Post is still not up and running since October 14th on Twitter, that should get everyone crazy. And I don't care if you're voting for Biden or you're voting for Trump or you're voting for one of the third party candidates or you're writing in Mickey Mouse. People need to wake up and recognize that the media is controlling what you're allowed to see. And now they're controlled. Big tech is controlling what you're allowed to say. We might as well be in communist China.
Mike Bloomfield wrote a comment here. However, you don't have to use it if you don't like it. No, you're right, Mike. I do not have to use social media if I don't like it. But then they do not get to become a platform protected by those rights.
That's right.
That's my issue here. I'm a Republican. I not always, by the way. I was a Democrat. I can't, with good conscience, give them the protections of the law because it will allow manipulation of what you feed. Google does the same thing in search. And if anyone's interested, you can go over to Project Veritas on YouTube. And there are actual videos of execs from these companies, hidden camera videos. This Project Veritas may be a little right wing, but they have video evidence. They put spies in these companies and they videoed them talking about the shadow bans, the deregulating of the searches. So right, wrong, or indifferent, left or right now, these are all owned by left-wing people. One day they might not be. We need to make sure for both sides' sake that the discussion is open and not filtered by private corporations. There's only a few pieces of speech that are prevented in that country, right, Letitia?
You can't harm others. You can't do anything that's going to cause harm to others. Like you can't, incite riots or hysteria.
Yell fire in a movie theater.
Right.
Which is where I understand the COVID stuff, where if somebody put out I ate Twinkies and it cured my COVID, I still don't want it censored, but that one I could swallow. What they did to the New York Post, there's too much evidence. Way too much evidence presented in a national 4th largest newspaper in the country. That's where that drew the line.
And what they're doing to Colleen. I mean, now, Colleen, did you go through it? You have the Facebook?
No, I didn't go through any of it yet.
Oh, well, so
but I just want to speak to what George was saying. I feel like, and I'm the type of person, and I know a lot of people who aren't. I'm so surprised there aren't people like that on the other side. But if the censorship was happening in the other direction, I would still stand out against it. Absolutely. I would still be saying this is wrong. Everybody should be fully informed and let people make their own decisions. I don't know why all of a sudden the government and big tech has become daddy. What happened to taking care of ourselves and independent thoughts? But if you're not putting the information out there, and then the people, when you finally get, they won't even believe it. They dismiss you out of hand. I've begged people. I'm like, I know you forever. I know you have integrity. Why are you not standing out against this? It's very frustrating. But no, I was just talking about some of the articles that got blocked. And I have my phone now. Some of the articles that got blocked, how they just weren't circulating a lot of my posts. But every now and then I'll go into the Joe Biden page, on Facebook. And I put information in there. And one of the things was, and that's another legitimate news source article that I just shared, a legitimate link to the New York Times. And it was a New York Times article where it had a video inside of it where it was after the last debate, because I know they were going to fact check it. Like last night, Trump said that Biden called them super predators. That was a mistake. And the fact checkers are going to count that. They're going to say, no, that's incorrect, because Hillary called them super predators. Joe just called them predators. So right after the last debate, people were saying he never called them super predators. Everything's a freaking technicality with them. If you don't dot one I or cross one T, they slam you. So I went to get the article to show them, no, he didn't call them super predators, but he did, in fact, call them predators. And Facebook didn't even let me put it in the comments. It blocked me immediately. It went against community standards as spam. Spam? It's a New York Times article. It's not spam. And then a PolitiFact article, the same thing, spam. And that was where they were saying, and these were actually against Biden, but coming from left-wing publications, or it was Political or PolitiFact, whatever one, was saying how Biden, a lot of his comments were false, and they were doing a little scale of, mostly false or mostly true. They blocked that. But when I went to the Biden page, the newest phenomenon, and I knew it was coming, was that any of Trump supporters who were commenting on that page, the Biden supporters were saying, don't listen to them. They're not real. They're Russian bots. So I'm like, no, I am not a Russian bot. I am a very real person. My page has 12 years of history on it. It is very clear that I am not a fake account. If you go, and you can go back, I don't know if they just wanted to be mean. And Facebook did not tell me why my account was disabled, but on that Friday night, you had called me and asked if I wanted to do the show on Facebook Censorship. And oddly enough, 2 days later, my account got fully disabled. I cannot go into the Facebook app at all. They did not tell me why. They asked me to submit my ID. So I sent my license front and back, both, and they said, thank you. We'll review your information. That was September 27th. Nothing since.
It's crazy, but this just happened.
I have to believe that somebody reported my page as a Russian bot. But if Facebook, an algorithm, anything would pick up immediately that my account's not a fake account, because it's got 12 years of history on it.
It wasn't that. So it's what you said.
Still not restored. So the next day I created a new email and I created a new Facebook account. And within 5 minutes, it disabled it. So I guess it goes with the IP address.
Right.
So that's when you texted me, and I tried to do that interview with the New York Post reporter that ended up not coming to fruition. But in the meantime, while I was giving the Post reporter information for the article, I came across in my email, in my Facebook emails, it said visit site. So I clicked on it, and it brings me to some backdoor desktop version, bootleg Facebook. I don't have a lot of functionality, and I'm on my new account, not my original account. And my original account, like over 1,200 people. I'm not going to get them all back. I've got like a quarter back, a third. But it was clear that it wasn't a fake account. And for that, then I went in and I clicked on a link and to Instagram, and apparently my Instagram is disabled, which I don't use. I would have never known, but. Yeah, so I'm disabled like across the board. I haven't been disabled on Twitter, but I really only go there when I'm in Facebook jail.
It's scary that they could take away 12 years of your history too, right? Without a warning. And really, to me, there are reasons to ban people off a platform. No question. Those aren't the reasons, but there are reasons. But they don't tell you the reason. That's, to me, the most disturbing part, because you sometimes you don't realize that this happened or that you're doing something that isn't right, and all of a sudden you're banned. Why am I banned? I don't know. So now I'll repeat that offense because I didn't know that's why I got banned. We have a client that sells patriotic gear, right? Americana, pictures of the flag, pictures of John Wayne with the flag and Marilyn Monroe with the flag, and just all about the flag. And this particular online retailer got shut down last night. I have 3 ads running on this account. And this is an ad account, right? That I spend $1 million a year with Facebook. I can't even get in touch with somebody to tell me why they shut down this account. So I submit my ID, even though I'm validated and verified 50 times over. I have submitted I have submitted photo ID, driver's licenses. I have submitted notarized statements of who I am in order to run political ads. Why are they asking for it again? They know who I am. I'm logged in. You have my ID on file. So why did they stop these ads? So I started to look into their terms of service. And believe me, it's a convoluted maze of I can't understand it. Rather than them sending me a note saying, oh, hey, heads up, this product's not allowed. Take it down or you'll be suspended. They just shut me down. And then I realized there was one item on this that in the background had a picture of Trump. One item. None of the items were about Trump. They were all about the flag. That's it. I got banned on based on this product. And then now I submitted a ticket, and I'm dying to find out what their response to me is going to be as to why I can't sell a picture of the American flag on Facebook. Why did they shut it down? And then I looked at the photo, and there's Trump in the background. So I've been running ads for months. Months and months and months, no problem.
Oh, because they consider it a political ad because it's within the 2 weeks.
But that's a notification that would come back to me and say, "Oh no, this is political," and then I hit the switch,
right? Yeah.
And I put my disclaimer on it, and then there's a disclaimer. But it wasn't a political. It just said, "Hey, enjoy this beautiful portrait of the American flag, painted by famous artist blah 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 on this date."
Holy crap!
1 of 240. That's it. It didn't talk about politics at all. So it's a mystery to me. And if they start telling us, I think they would derive less hatred. Twitter did not give any explanation for their ban of the New York Post until days later, days after the virality of it was murdered, right? Because without the virality, you're killing the story. It doesn't matter if you come back and say, I'm sorry, you were wrong. You did the damage.
Although they ended up making it, they said twice as many people got to see it because of all the big controversy.
Well, that was a great
I don't know what
effect.
to do. I don't know how to get my stuff back. The reporter from the Post contacted Facebook because he said he had a special press email. They didn't respond to him, and he asked them some very good questions that didn't even just pertain to me, just in general. Like, as opposed to last year, how many accounts did you shut down this year? Like, pretty relevant questions to do a comparison, like to see, are you really doing this? And they don't respond. You can't reach a person.
Right.
I even went to try and find the law enforcement one. I couldn't find anything. And, like I said, I have some pictures on there that I don't even know where I have the originals anymore.
But how ironic is it that I put you in touch with the Post to do the story, and then the Post winds up having the problem on Twitter, and now they're
I know. Well, I emailed him back that night when they blocked the story. I said, "It looks like you guys are getting censored more than me."
It's crazy stuff, and and I want to go back to Mike Bloomfield's comment about you can stop using it, and he's absolutely right. You can stop using a thing that you don't agree with. Right, we could stop reading the New York Times if we are, if we're more, conservative, and stop watching Fox if we're more liberal. But the question becomes broader. It's not just about, oh, I don't like it, so I don't do. You don't have to do it when there are no other options. You have now an echo chamber. And these echo chambers are very, very dangerous because, as George rightly said, right now, most of the press is liberal. But, in any moment in time, it can change and it can become all conservative. And so now all the information that's being fed is opposite. That's not what America is about. That's what the communist China is about. That's what Venezuela.
What's the difference too, Letitia?
That's what I'm saying.
You could sue the New York Times as proven by the kid who won his lawsuit.
Nick Sandman,
right? So you could sue the papers for damage, right? You can't sue Facebook for damage, one. And two, they're not putting out false information. They're shaping information.
That's right.
Which is, how do you prove that, right? How can you prove that they are? And Google, I saw it in 16 for the first time in my life. Google had the perfect algorithm most of my life. I have been a tech junkie and I've made my living on these search engines. Google's algorithm was a thing of elegance, and around 14 to 15, 2014 or 15, I started to see a change in the algorithm where it didn't follow the logic of I think it was the Panda update. It didn't follow the logic any longer. It wasn't about a series of mathematical formulas that determined which content was best for you. And they admit it. Now there's human intervention into the search result. So use DuckDuckGo. Heck with Google. You don't need Google. Google is now deciding what's important for you to read, which doesn't directly put harm on any one person, right? How do you sue for that? I don't know. Can you sue for that? That'd be the most complicated lawsuit in the
Well,
world.
maybe it's called
Sometimes you have to go
indoctrination.
through
It's
like
called
7
propaganda.
pages. Sorry.
No, I mean, but that's called indoctrination. It's called propaganda. Now, let's just take a look at what's going on in this country for a minute. We have our children that are being indoctrinated in college. We as parents are giving them, iPads and iPhones from as soon as they can, get their dexterity going. So we're already indoctrinating them into that this device is the most important device in the world. And then now the stuff that feeds into that device is all controlled. It seems to be controlled by one kind of thought process. Then they go to college, and and not only just college, but grammar school. And now we have the new projects that the New York Times is teaching in our New York City schools. I mean, where does this end? I mean, should we just shut everything down? Is that what's going to wind up being? Either you're going to be one of the bots or you're going to be the anti-bots, where you don't have any kind of information from technology. I feel it's like it's dangerously close to that. And that's scary to me. It's scary because that really separates out, who people are. And what they do.
To me, there's only one answer to this problem, and that is declaring these companies utilities.
That's right.
We broke up Mom
Well,
Bell.
that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Where are the antitrust laws? Aren't these monopolies? Remember when they broke up the phone company? I mean, this is outrageous. Look at even the Amazon guy. I mean, it's just overwhelming how they've taken over so much of this stuff, and they control so much of our lives without us even realizing it. I mean,
I'd
to totally
love to
be
do
able
a
to
show
shape
on
what
Amazon.
everybody's thinking because of suppression of information, it just, I keep coming back to thinking of China, and I don't want to be China. And people on the other side have to, and there are a few, I've come across a few that are pretty outraged at what's going on, but very few. I mean, but people have to start standing up and realizing that it's not us against each other, but we have to protect each other, because today it may be against us, but tomorrow it could be just as well be against you. The other side. So I just, people have to start having integrity. I mean, I feel like it's at a point where they're willing to win at any cost, and I don't think we are. So, I don't know where you draw the line.
Because it's not about the person or even the party, I don't think, anymore. Now it's about the shaping the thought and being able to have the rules and the laws. I mean, this is scaring the shit out of me when I'm thinking about the fact that I was on the phone with reporters who are covering races who wanted to talk about the fact that my candidate wasn't wearing a mask at an event, but didn't want to talk about the fact that Hunter Biden had all these emails and the possibility that there might have been this, corruption for a presidential candidate. And I don't care who it is. If you look, when Trump had his issues, they dug deep and everybody decided he was guilty before he even started, right? And we spent $48 million, with an impeachment trial and everything else. So to not even consider that any of this could be true, and to not even have an investigation, and to have no reporter for mainstream media saying, okay, I'm going to really look into this because this is news, to me, it is just so scary. It's so
Are there
scary.
no more investigative reporters anymore? There's no young Geraldo out there. They seem to not do any kind of in-depth digging or anything anymore. I mean, nobody. I understand some of the shows are just shows; they're not investigative news. But Geraldo needs to come out of retirement and do something here because nobody's investigating anything. And you know what? Remember this morning I talked to you. When I read your article, actually, one of the contributors to the New York Post article this morning with Letitia is my ex-professor from Baruch. Well, I was reading, I'm like, oh my, the views, I was horrified. I went back and I read the name and I said, oh my gosh, it's my old professor. And I know I told you guys this story, but out of a cohort of 24 people that we went together, it was an executive program. We went together for every class for 2 years. I was with the same 24 people. I'm the only one who walked out of there, basically, I guess, not indoctrinated. And I'm a Trump supporter. But my values didn't change. I still have a heart. I've been in social services for 20 years. That's what I do. I see that what works and what doesn't work, and I think there's better ways to empower people and not hold them down. I think plenty of these programs in place hold people back for several reasons, which that's another show. But, and they won't even see any middle ground. So I'm truly grateful that I guess my mind was strong enough to get away from him, but you don't not have a heart. If you're a Trump supporter, you're automatically racist. You don't have a heart. And that's just not the truth. The majority of people I know who are now Republicans are pro-choice. Yes, we're not in favor of full-term and late-term abortion, but the majority of are pro-choice. Nobody wants to go back to illegal abortions in this country. I don't care who you are. I mean, maybe some very devout people, but I don't think they would be diametrically opposed to, or in favor of illegal abortions. And then,
there's plenty of Democrats
and then with the
that are also
LGBTQ rights.
pro-life.
All Republicans I know are also, again, the vast majority pro, all for equal rights across all gender, race, everything, sexual orientation, but again, with LGBTQ, and I think they're against this too. I don't think pedophilia is an orientation. And I hear the LGBTQ community also does not want it lumped into their,
of course not. Listen. Now that there's the pedophilia, I think is a whole nother issue, and it's a tragic one. And I don't think that there's any group that embraces that as a group except for Mamba. But George, I don't know if you got to the comments, but I know you saw the one that I just saw.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Lewis Thomas. No, that's not the one I'm looking for.
Yeah, next one.
Keep switching on me. What's going on?
Yeah. He's got two.
Okay, so who believes in a racist agenda, Lewis? Yeah. Who? Not me. Yeah. What's your racist agenda? Joe Biden has more hard evidence of being a racist than Donald Trump does. One, right? That's just on paper. Go do your searches. All Trump's racist, the way people call Trump a racist, is by third-party hearsay or poorly crafted New York-style ways of referring to people, right? But actual actions are all that matter, and his agenda has provided actionable help to people of color. And I am surrounded by Republicans and Democrats in my life, and neither side to me is racist agenda. There is no racist agenda. I don't want to keep any black people down. I don't want to keep any Spanish people down. I don't want to keep any white people down. I want to lift everybody up. But I am having my neck stepped on now too, right? So I'm being called a racist when I'm not a racist just because I support Donald Trump. That type of black and white way of looking at things is going to divide this country right down the center. And it's not coming from the right.
Well, it has,
and it's not going to be divided by color. It's going to be divided by values.
It's definitely, and Lewis Thomas, you're welcome to say whatever you like. And what I'd like to know is what is a racist agenda? And because if you're defining me as someone that supports a racist
You know
agenda,
what?
I'd like to know what that is. Because frankly, I think that the use of the word racist so loosely and so
It's dangerous.
freely is now actually, taking the bite out of it, and you're anesthetizing people and alienating people that are supporters of everyone. You know what? To me, Black lives have always mattered. And I have spent my lifetime making sure that people know that's how I feel. I don't need a march. I don't need a bunch of young white kids from a college using daddy and mommy's money telling me how I should feel about Black lives. I'm 57 freaking years old, and Black lives have always mattered to me. So don't start telling me I have a racist agenda unless you're going to define what that is. And if you're going to judge me by the fact of who I'm voting for, then that's going to be a problem for everybody, no matter what color or creed they are. Because if people are going to start getting labeled because of the color of their skin or their political agenda, then you have a problem. And I never said that Black heritage is stupid. I said that we have the New York Times telling us what to teach our children. So if you're going to make big statements, then get them right, because I'll probably fact check you.
Why don't you come on with us one day when we're doing a topic? We'll do a topic on race. I'd love to do it. I'd love to have that dialogue with you, Lewis. If you're willing to do it, throw a comment down there. We'll reach out. We'll get in touch with you. And we'll do it. Right now, we're trying to stay on the censorship tip, right?
Yeah.
So I want to keep it there because I don't want to deflect too much. But Lewis, you're welcome on the show anytime.
Absolutely, and your comments are welcome. Just be clear. So you have a whole bunch of other people here, George, that I don't know that you saw. We got Mark Deadeyes. Yeah.
I agree with that statement very, very strongly too. They're ideologues and they're virtue signalers. I'm going to penetrate this phrase throughout the internet. They're virtue signaling, and look how virtuous I am. Actions speak louder than words or Instagram posts. So I'm with you.
And today's reporters are glorified commentators coming from Kim Salvo. Maureen O'Callahan says this is such an important topic. Thank you for addressing it. I agree, Maureen. It is important. It's just, nobody wants to talk about it. George, John Tobacco said hi, and I told him
John.
he should jump on, and he said he might do that. John Tobacco, for everybody, is from Liquid Lunch, Biz TV. He just sewed up his show and caught ours. He's doing some promos, but he said he's going to try and hop on with us before the end. I know you saw Mike Bloomfield's comments already. Let's see. We saw Lewis Thomas. Bonnie Standard. So many alternative news reporters or open source investigation sites that I've listened to for years have been compromised or shut down recently. Tell us which one, Bonnie, because I'm interested in hearing that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Lewis Thomas. Again, I have history working for him.
I want you to come on and chat about it.
He has history. Oh, okay. So, Lewis, you work for Trump in the casinos, and you feel that from your experience in the casinos that he's a racist. Okay, you have firsthand experience. You should come on and talk about it. John Greco, I'm so tired of the bullshit with Facebook and the censors. Why don't they just be honest and try to be objective instead of so liberal? I don't know if it's liberal. I think it's just the Gestapo.
Here's the thing. I don't want anybody interpreting facts for me. Just give me the facts. I'll interpret.
Well, a lot of it, they're not even saying that it's not true. You'll get a fact check. It may be misleading. But I may grow wings. It may not be misleading. So they just do it to discredit you. So when people see a lot of those things going through your page, they think that, they just don't even look anymore. It's just a way to discredit. Like, look at the woman. Remember, she got arrested, not in New York, at the kids' football or soccer game. She didn't have a mask on, and they took her out. So I posted that they arrested her for not wearing a mask. Well, the fact checkers came back and said, now, this is misleading because she was actually arrested for trespassing, Yeah, but she was considered trespassing because she wouldn't wear a mask. So it's just, again, these leftists with their little technicalities. It's like you have, and what, it doesn't liberal mean accepting. So why does everything have to be dotted and T's crossed and I's dotted? Aren't they supposed to be tolerant and accepting? But yet they nitpick on any little thing you get wrong. If Trump comes to a thing and he says, I was there for half an hour, sorry, you were there for 26 minutes. You know, it's like this, the silliest little things they pay attention to, like you were saying. They're talking about today. Why isn't your client wearing a mask but not worried about what Hunter Biden's taking billions of dollars? You know, and then they're shutting down, like I think that person just said, a lot of on YouTube, a lot of the, you know, independent news stations. My friend told me they're shutting down her pages by her channels like every day. All the QAnon stuff is down. Now, QAnon, it's not a cult in the sense that, you know, cults usually try to make you all think alike. QAnon kind of tells you to do independent research. It kind of encourages independent thought. Do I agree with everything? No. Do I think there's some stuff that's real? Yes. But for them to, again, shut everything down, every QAnon site on Facebook is gone. The Big Red Wave group, it had close to 2 million members. They just disabled it. Candace Owens, 600,000 group members, gone. Silent Majority group, over 1 million members, gone. They just, and I think that's what the Russian bot thing, I think there is so much support for Trump out there that they have to account for it and attribute it to something. And that's where this narrative of Russian bots came in. And I tell them, no, we are real and we are vast. But I think that they don't want people getting nervous, like seeing all this support for Trump and seeing these groups with millions of members. Look at Twitter. If you Donald Trump has like 80 million followers, and Joe Biden has 9. If you go on Facebook, Trump has 29 million followers, and Biden has 2.8 million. So I think the whole the narrative about the Russian bots is, again, because it's so big, and that's why they're shutting down all these giant, massive groups, because it looks really bad to Biden to see his groups have 3,000 members and our groups have over 1 million.
But do you think that's only? I'm sorry. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the Russian bot thing, right? The bots are real, right? There are bots from every country, including our own, that are used to disseminate information in a propaganda-like fashion, right? So Iran just got nailed doing this, right? Interfering in Florida. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. People are acting like he made a phone call. It's just like if I'm running for office and the leader of the KKK endorses me on TV. How the heck can I control that? I didn't ask for his endorsement. I didn't want his endorsement. It's the same thing with bots. So bots are real, and we use them before the internet got smart. Bots were a way to make a lot of money, and I ran plenty of bots in my lifetime that would scour the internet for comments or go make comments to lead you to a link to a product so you could buy the shoe that I was selling, right? So these bots go out, they hunt, they peck, they seek, and either they're trying to gather information, they're trying to disseminate information, or they're trying to sell you something.
But are they actually making posts? Are they actually commenting inside the post of Biden's page?
I don't know. No, that's just they're just being mean to you. You know, they're just.
It's not just me. They say don't listen to any of them. They're all Russian bots, and I'm like, no, we're not.
So I just want to follow up. Lewis Thomas said that I was right about the casinos, and yes, and you guys dismiss his bad and negative of his history. So Lewis, again, you're making a broad statement that people dismiss things. No, we said that other than hearsay and people just repeating it, nobody has stated a specific thing that demonstrates that Donald Trump is racist. But we have Joe Biden saying things like minority kids are every bit as smart as white kids. We have him, against busing and saying all kinds of statements about that children of ethnicity should not be going to school with white kids. There it goes over
You
and
know
over
what,
and over.
Lewis, you are like a plethora of information. You have firsthand knowledge, right? So come on, because this show is about Facebook censorship. I don't want to turn it into a racist topic, but I'd love to do a show with you. So I'm going to put my email in here.
So, good. So George is going to bring it back because I get caught up on a tear. I get so angry.
I don't want to
get angry
dismiss.
when people just blanketly say somebody is a racist because I know who I am, and if enough people start labeling people who have always fought for equality as racist, then we're going to just stop. And then where are we going to be? And that's not right. And that's not what should happen. And I'm not going to let some people just flippantly commenting, destroy the unity that we've been turning towards. Are we perfect? No. But for God's sakes, we're better than we ever were. For God's sakes, in 200 years, an African American.
It's turning into a race show now. I didn't want this.
All right, I'm out. All right. So, all right, Bonnie Stannard. Besides QAnon, all down. Field McConnell, from 2006, was arrested. Okay, so we're seeing that I don't even think that it is even that it's Biden. That's the problem. I think that no matter who the presidential candidate was, that this would have happened. I think that this truly is a concerted effort now to make sure that conservative thinking people don't have control of the legislature. That's what I'm feeling. We saw it happen with our district attorneys, and we saw it, and they all flipped. We saw it happen with bail. So I think that it doesn't matter if it's Biden or Trump. What matters is that Trump hit a nerve, and Trump actually told people that he was going to drain the swamp. And he started to do it. And he's starting to expose the fact that this is that all of the Washingtonites and all of the money people are in bed together. So it's not necessarily a Democrat-Republican thing, because we see the Bushes, we see, the Romneys, we see the McCains, we see the Clintons, we see all of these people that have been entrenched in Washington for years and years and years. Lincoln Arms, Obama's, Biden's Lincoln Arms, and they are pushing back against Trump. And who is supporting them? All of the billionaires, all the Hollywood billionaires, and all of the media.
And why would Trump has threatened Section 230 from almost the day he entered office. So certainly they do not want him to get in office, they being the social media companies, right? Yeah. So it behooves them to downgrade his content, because he's looking to take away their protections that they're enjoying and making a fortune off of.
Right. So it really comes down to it that what we're fighting for here, and we go back to others who think that this is a Republican Democrat thing or a Biden Trump thing. This is not about who the president is. This is not even, it's about Trump actually following through with saying, I don't care if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat. I'm going to crack this thing wide open and show America the disgusting underbelly of this swamp. And they're all going to see that you all in Washington have been keeping them down, no matter their color, no matter their religion. You've been keeping the American people down, and the American people have been allowing it to happen. He has basically is causing an uprising. And that's why I get frustrated. That, Colleen, you said it best. You do your own research. George, you said it. You do your own research. I do my own research. It's those people that just want to live in an echo chamber that scare me, because I don't know if there are more of them than there are of us who are willing to fight. And whether this division between us with race, this division between us with mask, no mask, this division, there everything is designed to sow division between us. And I'm sorry if I sound like a QAnon member, because I am not. But I'm
It's funny.
starting.
I don't even know what QAnon is. I don't even pay attention to it. I have no clue. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm not plugged
But
into
one
that one.
thing I have to say is, if it wasn't for Donald Trump, I would not have known how fake the news outlets really are. So if nothing else, he's totally awakened, me to what's, how much has been hidden from us, or we're being lied to, or, it's funny. The other morning I woke up and I had Channel 7 on in the morning, and I didn't realize it. And I'm listening to the news, and I'm like, and it was horrifying and terrifying. And they were talking about COVID and millions of people. I'm like, oh my God. And then I said, this can't be the right channel. And I looked and I'm like, well, no wonder everyone is terrified. These fear mongers on these channels. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I immediately had to change it. And I got to tell you, I've never watched Fox News until 2 months ago. I figured all this stuff out on my own.
Me neither.
Just by watching those news outlets, because I'm like,
I know they're
Trump,
biased.
and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. I know he loves America and he loves us. Like, it just didn't feel right. And that made me seek. And then I saw it and I kept digging deeper and deeper. And then, it's amazing. But the more truth you tell, the more they try to shut you down.
Well, I never thought I'd see this. I never thought that we would get to this point where the news that should be investigated is not being investigated. And what I just don't understand is how there's got to be some reporters other than at the Post. And by the way, just so that you know, I happen to know a lot of reporters, and I know what's demanded of them. And many reporters, Colleen, you said something before about that reporters don't investigate anymore, and we need Geraldo. And you're right. Reporters now, like most newspapers, tell a reporter, you have to post 10 stories a day, or 11 stories a day. So they have no choice. When you think about it, you got an 8-hour day and you've got to post a story an hour. It doesn't give you a lot of time like it used to be back in the day, where you could call everybody and check and everything else. So what they do is they regurgitate each other's stories, and they say, okay, according to this news outlet, this happened. So the way that social media is working and the way these platforms are working, it actually discourages the ability to investigate anything, because it takes too much time and it's fast moving. So we're going down the drain. It's terrible. Go ahead, Colleen.
And even the article I did with your reporter, I mean, we talked 3 times there. Saturday night, he said the photographer's coming to you tomorrow. And Sunday morning, he called me and said the editor doesn't want to do it. So it could be that the reporters are doing their jobs even, and the editors are cutting it, nixing it and not letting it go. So I don't know.
Well, it comes down to...
I was in tears the other day because I don't want to turn into communist China. I don't want, propaganda, and we're only allowed what the government not the government in this case, because Trump's the deep state, let's call them, what they want us to see. And it's really scary. I mean, I even texted you. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about our future.
Yeah, me too. And I don't know what's going to happen on November 3rd, because I really
or November 6th or 12th, whatever state you're in.
Well, but that's the whole thing is, we're not going to know on November 3rd. So what day are we?
Yeah, and know? November 3rd, what are they going to say? All right, Trump's winning by this many, so this is how many we need to fill out by November 12th. It scares the hell out of me.
It is scary, and anybody that doesn't recognize the fact that we are losing our independent thought, it concerns me. But listen, societies change all the time. Governments change all the time, and this may be where society is headed. And anybody that's watched the show Wall-E, from Pixar, might remember that, humans, destroyed themselves in that show. Um, you know, extinction is for, there are animals that go extinct, and we may be next, and this may be how we get there, or in at least in the form that we know ourselves as free thinkers and utilizers of a brain and thumbs and all that other stuff. But we can give that last gasp and say we're not going to take it and we're not going to allow it. And I think what George, said was correct. We need to get these platforms to be able to be considered media news outlets, like publishers, and we have to do that while we still have control of the Senate. When I say we, any free thinkers, and I'm not even sure that the Senate as it stands right now has the desire to do it, because Mitch McConnell has been there forever. Right now, I'm not blaming Trump for not getting the money to the people that we need. I'm blaming both Pelosi and McConnell. I mean, really, come on. This is the most insanity I've ever seen. The nation is starving, and the two houses can't get together to do the one job that they have, which
or
is
at least split it up to what they agree on and pass what you agree on. Like she's holding on to
that's a whole nother show right there.
It is a whole nother show. Yeah. It is. So
yeah, and there's so many other shows. You can have so many tangents with this. Now tell me about tomorrow, this march for early voting. Is you actually walking from like Richmond Road to Ocean Breeze, or is it going to be a car parade?
Letitia, I'm 5 minutes late for a client call, so I'm going to jump off. I'll let you end it. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, George.
Bye, Colleen. Thank you.
So I don't know what you're talking about, Colleen.
I saw a post that said we're going to march for the early vote, and they're leaving. It's from 10 to 3, leaving Republican headquarters on Richmond Road tomorrow morning.
That I don't know, but I can tell you that on Sunday at 1:00 at 2300 Richmond Road, you can come by, and we're going to actually get out the vote. We're going to go door to door at 1:00. So anybody who's listening that's from Staten Island that wants to do that, I'm sure that the Democrats have something going on too. I just don't have that information here. But I want to thank you, Colleen, for being our guest today. I think this topic was important to get out, and I'm sorry that I went off on a tangent. And Louis Thomas, I think that you have a lot to say, and if you want to come on and talk about race, then you need to come on and do it. I've invited many friends who have said things similar to you to come on the show to discuss race relations in America, and nobody has taken me up on that offer yet, and I'm not quite sure why, but the offer still stands. My mother is saying that we've come to swallow our young. Have we come to swallowing our young? I think so. And that's it. So anybody else, Louis Thomas, if you want to come on Monday, you need to inbox me. Colleen, you've been a great guest. Thank you. And I'm sorry for your Facebook stuff, but I want you to come on again and tell me when they restore your account. It's almost a month now, right?
It's a month.
So, it's a month. Okay. So, all right, everybody, we got to go. We're almost 8 minutes late in the show. Have a great
I got to go back to work.
And we'll see you on Monday. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.